Welcome to the Hair Loss Show. Dr. Russell Knudsen and Dr. Vikram Jayaprakash discuss issues relating to hair loss and the medical and surgical treatment of hair loss in both men and women.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Hair Loss Show, episode number 39. Today's episode is titled Beard Transplant, and it encompasses a couple of different things, but I thought we'd just leave the title as Beard Transplant. So what we're going to cover today is basically scalp to beard transplant, so if you want to thicken up the beard, and then we're also going to do the reverse, where beard to scalp transplant, and talk about the variants of the two. So let's take scalp to beard transplant. So what you're seeing a lot of nowadays, fashion trends constantly changing. Right now we're going through sort of renaissance where beards are the big thing, and a lot of people want to have big thick beards, and there are people that cannot physically grow a thick beard. They don't have a lot of facial hair, and there are medical therapies that we can use to try and stimulate existing hair to grow on the face. So a topical version of minoxidil or an oral version of minoxidil can sometimes help thicken up beard facial hair. But the reality is, if you haven't got hair in a particular area for whatever reason, if you're just genetically built in a certain way that there are certain areas are sparse, or you just don't have a lot of facial hair, then all the minoxidil in the world, or whatever it is not going to necessarily give you a more facial hair and a thicker beard. So in those scenarios, really the only way to get more hair into an area is to transplant. And so what we can do is transplant hair from the scalp to the beard, and it works very, very well. All right, it looks natural because you're transplanting the individual groupings of hairs or the follicular units into the area. And if you design the shape of the beard and you get the density right, you can actually thicken up an area and make it look dense and bushy. So that can be done very, very simply through a small procedure. It's done under local anesthetic and sedation. You can either do either technique. You can do a strip technique, in which you cut a strip of hair out from the back and then sew it up, and that leaves you with a linear scar at the back. Or if you're not keen on that, then we can do what is known as FUE, or follicular unit excision. You shave the back of the head and you punch out the grafts one at a time, and then transplant into the area. How many grafts do you need? Who knows? It depends on the individual. It depends on how much hair is there in the first place, how much density you're trying to achieve, and the area that needs to be covered. So I think that's the scenario where you need to come in and get a consultation with someone who does this. But as long as you can design the shape of the beard, it's very straightforward and gives you a very, very good outcome. So hopefully that gives you some insight in how to thicken up facial hair. The next thing we want to talk about is beard to scalp transplant. So if you are having a hair transplant, if you're losing hair in a particular area, what we do is hair transplant is in essence moving hair from one part of the scalp to another. So effectively we're moving hair from the back of the head, and then we'll transplant that hair regardless of the technique, either by strip or by FUE, and then moving it to another part of the scalp, either the crown, the top, or the frontal hairline. But the challenge that we have as hair restoration surgeons is that at some point you've got limited donor availability at the back of the head. So you're going to run out of donor hair that you can use. And so in that scenario, we have to sort of think creatively and go, right, what are other alternative sources of donor hair that are available to us? And beard hair is one of those sources. So we can take beard hair and transplant it into parts of the scalp. The thing I will mention about that, and we do that quite frequently, is that the nature of beard hair is very different to the nature of scalp hair. Beard hair is actually quite thick and coarse, wiry. It has a different growth cycle to scalp hair. So you have to be careful where you use it. So I'm not an advocate about rebuilding the frontal hairline with beard hair, because I think it would look odd, it would look different, and it would stick out. I think where it is useful is if you have an area that has a little bit of diffuse thinning and you want to thicken that area up a little bit, then you can take some hair from the beard area and transplant it into that and spread it out over an area, and you can get more density into that area. If you're looking at harvesting from the beard, I've never done a strip surgery procedure to harvest from the beard. I don't think anyone ever has. I haven't heard of it. Generally, we do FUE, and we limit the area that we do to the area under the chin. And for most people, this area, I could generally harvest 500, maybe 600 grafts quite comfortably. You have to remember, if you're harvesting from that area, if I'm taking 500 grafts from this area, then those hairs are not going to grow back. So this area is going to look sparse. So if you've got someone who wants to keep a nice big thick bushy beard and wants to have hair somewhere else, there is going to have to be a trade-off with regards to that. So I mean, I don't harvest from anywhere else. I don't like harvesting from up on the sides of the cheek or the face. I think the risk of scarring in certain individuals is probably a lot higher. So I like to limit myself to the bottom of the chin. I think it heals very quickly. There's going to be a little bit of swelling, but that usually goes within 3 or 4 days. After that, you brush off the scabs, and the hair grows beautifully in the scalp. So that is a technique that we do quite frequently, and it works very, very well. And so in essence, that's pretty much it. I hope that gives you enough information on beard transplant, both scalp to beard and beard to scalp. If you've got any questions, please do leave them in the comments section. I hope you enjoy the video. Please give us a like and a subscribe, and then we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks very much.